We have a really special treat for you tonight. We have Jim Sulkowski with us here to do a painting demonstration. Jim has extensive education in art. He went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art. He also studied at CMU and the Art Students League in New York. And he has a really, really amazing ability. Wait till you see what he does. But he's also a teacher. He is an author. He's a practicing artist, and he does pretty much everything. He does portraits, he does landscapes, he does amazing still lifes. He's made instructional videos and taught painting. So he's really kind of a Renaissance man here, I think. The best part, well, and of course, my go-to for any demonstrator we have here is he also owns dogs. It's also a prerequisite, as you can see from everybody's pets on the screens. But we're very fortunate to have him with us tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
Well,
So
thanks very much. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. So, well, I'm going to talk about classical principles of painting this evening. And I use a still life because, you know, we'll talk about form and light and all the principles, space, light, atmosphere, and composition and color. We can talk about all that with the still life. And it applies to the portrait, applies to floral paintings and landscape. So let me just run through something kind of quickly. I have this is what classical art is based on. The basic shapes, you know, the sphere, the cube, the egg, and the cylinder. And you know, Robert Beverly Hale really emphasized that. Besides my teacher Frank Mason. So we'll be talking about that. And the two most important questions we have to ask ourselves is what form are we painting and where's the light coming from? And then we should be able to pretty much analyze anything. So I wonder if I should show you this palette first, run through this kind of quickly. It's set up from light to dark. See, so I have my titanium white, and I have my yellows from lemon yellow to yellow deep, and orange value and ochre. And then I have the reds, you know, the cad red, light, medium, and then the alizarin. Then I have my blues, cobalt, ultramarine, phthalo, and then raw umber, phthalo green, and black. So I have the whole gamut here. And then these are grays mixed with ivory, black, and white. This is important because these grays control the intensity of the color, and I'll show you that when I do this painting. And they also turn edges and turn light into shadow. We'll talk about all that. So let's talk about the palette from light to dark. See, that right here, right in the middle here, will be my darkest light around yellow, ochre, and orange value. From here on up, I'll be painting light. And around here, cad red light value, I'll be painting halftone, then shadows down here. So I'll get started on this. And I'll draw the painting with my raw umber. So I like to find, you know, the front edge of the painting. I don't want to start too low. So I put a line down here so I can start above that line. If you don't do that, oftentimes you start too close to the bottom of the canvas. So this is a still life with a brass bowl, and I'll show you the still life in a minute, or a few minutes. So we have a brass bowl with some apples spilling out of it. You know, and I have a rhythm here. You know, still life shouldn't be still. So we have this rhythm. And I have a bottle right there. I picked different textures so I could illustrate different textures. Then I have a glass, but let's do this first. Let's get this drawn in here. You know, just draw with the brush. See, so there's my cylinder, right? There's my cylinder. And I have my lightest object in the lightest light. If you look at the great Dutch artists, they always have the lightest object in the lightest light. So I have a yellow apple and I have a red apple. So, yeah, and then if anybody has a question, you can just shout it out and I'll hope I hear it.
Did you tint
So
that
here, this is
board,
the-
Jim? Did you
What's
tint
that?
the board first? Did you tint the board a color first?
Yeah, I tinted the board. It's Terra Rosa. Sometimes I put a cad red medium on it just to kill the white.
Okay, thank you.
I find that works the best because I've used everything. I've used blues, green, umber, you know, I've used everything. But this is good for the landscape, or the portrait, or the still life. So here we go like that. Over here is a glass, but I put a glass in glass because I'll scrape it in here. So, okay. Now, from here, I like to do the background. The background, you got to get that down. And then I'll begin to already see the light here. Find a bigger brush. And, some phthalo green and some umber. The phthalo green is a powerful color, as I'm sure you all knew. And you got to control that, and umber will kill the intensity of that.
What kind of medium do you use with your paints?
Well, I make my medium. It's a black oil, but Winsor Newton makes a nice fast drying oil, a painting medium, and I've used Yalka. I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but I like the painting to dry quickly. I mean, at least mostly by the next day. We're going to block this in, and see, there's a movement of light. When the light's coming from the left, like it is here, it'll be darker here and it goes to the light. So dark to light. So it's important to understand the movement of light. So we'll build up some light over here. Put a little ochre in there. This idea is, is to be inspired by the subject. You're not copying the subject. Even when we paint a portrait, you have to get likeness. You have to get the likeness, but the person should inspire the painting.
That looks good already.
Oh. Wow, should I stop? So we have dark to light. And then I'll tell you what I like to do. I like to block in every object in its middle position. But before I do that, I'm going to put my shadow in.
Wait, what do you mean when you said you like to block in every object in its middle position?
Well, I like to find the local color the way it would be, like between light and dark.
Ah, okay.
Let's think of three values: light, in the middle, and the dark. So, there's so many ways to paint. You could start with your darks and build up to the lights, or start in the middle, build the lights, and then build the darks. So this is going to be, we're going to start in the middle with these, and then build the lights and the darks. So let's look at the shadow on the table here. I'll take some raw umber. It's a wooden table. I'm going to show you. So I have this raw umber with some. It's like an earth red, you know, like a. I think it's what I have. It's like a Terra Rosa. Terra Rosa is an earthy reddish color. It's not quite like burnt sienna, but almost. So we'll mask the shadow on the table. There's a shadow under the bowl there. So you know, painting it's like taking it from being out of focus and gradually pulling it into focus. See, right away, those things start to look light. Okay. I'll tell you what else I can do. I think I'll just mask this table color in. We'll take an ochre, take yellow ochre and cadmium red light. I'm just going to lock this in. I want to cover the whole thing as you know, quickly and then build it. So okay. So this is going to be a yellow apple. You want me to show you what I'm painting? You want me to show you the actual
Yes.
still life?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that would be
I'll
nice.
show you. Can you see it there? It's all kind of blown out from the lamp.
Oh,
But,
yes.
there's the yellow apple there, and the brass pot, and the dark bottle. So let's see if that's going to be all right again. Okay, so okay, I'm going to block this in. The brass has some darks and some. It's got a lot of green in it. Is that good? Is that still okay? Is that all right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to take some ultramarine blue and some yellow ochre and create a greenish quality here. Brass has like a greenish quality to it. I'm just going to put that in the. You'll see how this builds. It's a bowl on its side. And we'll do this. There's a little base to it. Okay. All right. I'm going to put some yellow ochre here. To get that started. Okay, let's look at the red. I'm going to take a medium red for this apple here. You know, these grays I had, I'm going to put a little bit of a gray in, about the same value. But I'm going to block that in. Just make it flat, this flat color. So it's actually in the shadow. This model is black, but you know, black can look pretty flat or deadly. So we can either put red and black, or we could use ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson to get a deep dark. So try that. I like to paint from the actual objects, and because I can study the light, the way the light moves on the form. You know, if you have to work from a photo, just imagine, just kind of imagine that you're painting it from light. And you got to squint your eyes when you paint, you know. Squint your eyes, you can close down the light, and you'll see more. You'll see values, the atmosphere better. So it's going to go like that. Okay. So this, let's do the apple, and then I'll want that label in. You know, here's a good principle for shadow. Shadows are violet, and you know, they're more obvious outdoors because they're full blue violet. You know, I make that with ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and white. But indoors, we need a warm shadow. So think to this: the cad red light with cobalt blue will give me a nice shadow. You'll see historically, you know, the great masters. You know, you can go from Leonardo to John Singer Sargent, and you'll see this same color for shadow. It might have been made with like a raw umber and vermilion in the 17th century, but it's still the same rich, warm color. So we'll call that the shadow. And even on the portrait and the figure, you know, if you looked at any Gilbert Stuart portrait, or you know, you'll see this same color. Very interesting. Okay, so now this apple is going to be really brilliant. It's going to have a lot of yellow in it. It's going to be really yellow. I'm going to put some pure yellow right here and move it out from the center. You know, I'd like to move the light out from the center of the form. So the lightest object in the lightest light. But actually, there's red on the outside of this apple as it goes this way. See, I placed it so the red is turning away, like this, going away. Like so. Right now, we're not using all warm colors. We're going to use some cools later. Just blocking it all in. You block it in and then build it up. See, there's a label on this bottle. But if I put yellow ochre with some gray, I'll just block this in. Just get it started. So we'll start lower and then we'll build up. And now there's a little bit of, like a little shadow on that label.
Jim, every so often, could you bring the camera closer to your painting just so we could see a close-up of it?
Yeah, sure. Sure. We'll do that. We'll do that now. Whoops. Took a layer there. Let's see, I don't know. That's so I'm going to build the light, have it come out of here, and then it will go away.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll really build this now. But actually, I'm gonna throw in some half tones. You remember I said these grays are the half tones. So that's the atmosphere. And so a half tone means half light, half shadow. I can use either pure gray or I could put ochre in it or something to warm it up, make it look a little greenish. But just by adding it to that yellow, it turns it into a green. But we need that. You need that to turn the form. A lot of the time, the old masters painted in black and white, and then they glazed their color. And so they isolated the problems. We're solving the whole thing with one brush stroke, putting the right color and the right value, and the half tones, all in one brush stroke. And so we'll turn that. I'll just keep working with this, and then we'll move out. See, every painting that I do, has to have a vortex of light or light effects. So this will be an explosion of light, and then it'll go away, just like that. I think when you walk into a gallery, and just stand in the middle of the room, see what paintings jump out at you, and if they have the light, they'll jump out at you. That's what I look for. So let's build this really nice and bright. That's yellow and white, lemon yellow. And we move away, see? The richest color is found on the half tones. That's on the turning plane, rather, where the light turns into shadow. That's actually where the richest color is, even on the portrait. So see, I'm going to just build that. There's a white highlight over there. That's my big effect. So I know that's as light as I can go. So nothing else can be that light. But I'll just kind of go away from that. Then we'll develop reflected light later. You know, we have to have the 5 planes of light. You have light and shadow. Half tone is between that, and then reflected light, and then the highlight. So let's move away for now. Go to this red one, and I told you I have the middle here, so let's get darker. So I'll take some alizarin crimson. I'll put a little cobalt blue in it, and then we'll get a darker value here. The bowl is casting a shadow on the apple right there. And then, of course, there's a shadow running on the back edge of it. You know, the brush stroke should follow the form, whatever it is we're painting. So that's going around like that. All the while I'm doing this, I'm looking at the edges where they're lost. You know, they get lost into the background, and we find them in the lights. You know, just look for that. That's why I say, you know, this is meant to inspire us. Since, you know, the light's moving this way, getting that label.
Online casino. Bet Rivers features a huge selection of well-known casino slots and online exclusive slots at Bet Rivers feature low minimum bets, so you can play longer with your money. You'll find new slots at Bet Rivers each
Somebody needs to mute.
Yeah, somebody has a radio on or something in the background.
Rivers
TV?
Casino.
Somebody asking a question?
No,
I
we were
think
getting
we're okay.
interference.
Yeah, there was some interference, but we're good now. But if anybody has any questions, please unmute yourselves and ask.
I have a question. Do you select the colors, the palette that you're going to use before you start a painting?
No, you know what? I put the whole palette out all the time. It's, you know, it's like having the piano here.
Yeah.
You know, and then I don't have to stop and get another color. I always put the whole thing out.
Huh.
So it's like, you know, like Whistler said, the palette is your instrument, the colors are the notes, and on it you play your symphonies, you know. So I can really move if I have the whole thing out all the time.
You find you use most of them for a painting?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, not always, but pretty much. This is my violet. That's ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I like to put that in the middle. But you know, if you paint brass, copper, or silver, the dark is the same for all of them. And that's what this is. It gives it a luminosity. See, here's a dark right there. The thing is, you know, if the metal doesn't look like metal, that means the darks aren't dark enough and the lights aren't light enough. So I find that most people are afraid to get that dark in there. You really have to get the dark. So, okay, let's keep moving here. So you know, as I paint, I refine the painting as I go. Not locked into a drawing, you know, kind of evolves.
So you kind of you kind of paint like wet on wet, and then if you go back to a painting to work on it, do you sort of like work all over or work in just an area?
Oh, both really. It depends. You know, probably work all over it. Yeah, I've done both. You know, I just sometimes if I'm some canvases will absorb a little too much. So I'm working on this panel today, so the colors are staying nice and bright. Sometimes the canvas will suck up that light, so I'll have to go back in and hit it again. I think that,
Sometimes I notice too, like the tooth of the canvas seems to come out too much when I'm painting, and I'm not quite sure that I like that. And I don't know if the answer is to put more paint onto it.
yeah,
When I see that come out.
you can build up your paint, sure. Yeah, you can do that if you're not happy with the tooth. Sure. So let's put some light right here on the table. So I have some more yellow ochre, some yellow tea. You know, maybe a little orange, and I'll get the light for it. So this is where I want you to look. You know, as artists, we control where the viewer looks, and that's always something I'm interested in. So my light's coming from the left, see, and it's coming right down and striking here. It's like a path from the light hitting right there. Yeah, every painting should have a focus. Okay, so it's building. There's a little bit of yellow ochre. There's a little bit of yellow on this apple. And I'm going to use ochre because ochre has gray in it. And I want to keep it in shadow. So that's in shadow. Okay. Okay. Coming along. So I think it's good to stay with the largest brushes as long as you can, then go to the smaller ones.
Do you prefer synthetic or natural bristle?
No, I like natural bristle. I like Hair bristle. But you know why? Because it holds the paint better. I don't think the synthetics really hold the paint. I don't know if you can see that. That's wrong over there. It's in the center of the apple. Maybe I don't know if I can get it closer or not. See, there's the apple. So building the apple there.
Looks like we could pick it up.
Yep.
Well, that's good. So let's put the fifth plane of light in the yellow ochre. See, yellow ochre, you can use that anytime you want reflected light in a piece of fruit or a flower or a portrait. You know, the principle of reflected light is just so it's not as light as the main light. And yellow ochre gives a luminosity, and it's right out of the tube. You know, it's like a grayed down yellow is what it is. So we need that plane right there. I'll put a stem in later. Okay, so that texture is coming along. Let's go back to that brass. So I have yellow ochre here. See, I'm calling yellow ochre my light. So now I need a highlight. And the highlight is yellow. This takes some yellow and some white. We'll get it to shine here. Got a little shimmer going. I like painting textures, you know. It's like grapes or another texture that's fun to paint. Okay. So you just keep thinking going this way. And you know, just like I had the gray between the light and the shadow here, I've got to put a gray from the light on the table to the, you know, the warm light. We have a warm shadow, so I have to put a cool halftone even on that table.
I'm testing my audio a little, but board masonite. What is your surface? I know I came in late, so I didn't hear.
Actually, it's masonite. It's a called MDF board, and I made my own chalk gesso on there.
What was the name of the
chocolate
board
glue.
again?
It's called MDF. Lowe's has it.
Okay.
You know, it's hard to. I don't know if you can even get masonite anymore. Can you? Can you get masonite? I don't know. I used to do a lot of paintings on masonite. So I want a gray here, like right through here. What this does, this helps to lay my table down, you know. It helps to get my atmosphere.
How do you get the paint to blend so smoothly and so evenly? Just, you seem to just sort of touch it and it just sort of like blends together in this soft manner.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
It's real light with the brush. You know, just keep it, just don't
I
touch
guess
it too
she might want to know what your painting medium is. Are you more oil? Are you more turpentine? What are you? Copal medium? What are you using?
I'll tell you, well, good medium, stand oil, equal parts stand oil, Damar varnish, and turpentine. You have 3 equal parts. It's really a good medium. Just mix it up yourself. That's really, it's got a varnish which pulls, but it dries too. You know, the thing is, you want it to dry. You want it to grab onto the panel or the canvas. Put a little highlight on that.
I'm not familiar with
You know,
stand oil.
Stand oil is like it's a real thick heated linseed oil.
Okay,
Real thick.
thank you.
Yeah, everybody has it. Everybody has it. Or you know what? If you get a Windsor Newton fast drying oil, it's the same. Give you the same effect. Even Galkid. You familiar with that? With Galkid? You know, that's a synthetic medium. Like gambling makes that. There are some good companies out there. So see, we got this brass pot. We got apples. And this bottle here. Let me show you this. Here's blue. Here's pure ultramarine blue. I can run it right along the edge of the bottle. That's a black bottle, that'll turn that because it's cool. By the way, I always say it's better to underdo a painting than overdo it. You know, underpaint and overpaint. Try to, it's hard, but try to make each stroke count. And always, you know, as long as we keep in mind what the form is that we're painting, like this is a cylinder, you know, it happens to be glass. So you know, when I put a highlight on, it's really good at the top. So let's do that. You know, I'd suggest build up your lights really thick and opaquely. Try to keep the darks thinner, but even transparent if you can. I mean, that's good technique. See, here's a gray. Look at this gray. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm putting gray down here. See, that's turning that apple, making that the yellow look brighter. And also, see, I have the shadow of the apple blending into the background here. That's what I was saying about lost and found edges. Lose an edge. Really squint your eyes and you'll see where an edge gets lost. It gets lost all through here. See, it's lost through there. And that's going to give you atmosphere and help with the feeling of light. I'm going to be showing you some other things. I mean, this is really a, you know, quick thing, but I'm going to show you some other things as we go along. So I have a glass here. I'm going to show you that. So we take a mole stick. And I have, let's see, it's about here. I'm going to paint wet into wet here. Well, a lot of times I like to wait till a painting dries and then paint the glass on, but I can do it wet into wet. So through the center line first. See whatever on the left side of my line, same distance on the right side. So I'm going to put a glass in here. And this will be down here. Just scratch it in. You know, it can't hurt a painting. Don't ever think you can hurt a painting. You can always fix it. We can always fix it. Okay. And I'll get rid of most of my scratchy lines. And then let's see, I have some liquid in here.
So why are you putting the glass in after all of the other pieces?
Well, it's easier. You know, I painted the bottle. I had to paint the bottle first because we see through the glass. You know, we see the bottle through the glass. So I have to do that through the glass last. You know, that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I wouldn't outline it and then paint it. You want to do what's behind it first. So I put I put tea in here to make it look like sherry, because that's a bottle of sherry. So we'll put that in there. It's just that flat middle tone, you know? And then make a darker value with some blue and red, some blue, cobalt blue and alizarin. Well, I say blue and red, you'd say what blue, what red? So cobalt blue and alizarin. You know what? This is something, Kim, that Robert Beverly Hale said. You know, he said, first you paint what you see, then you paint what you know, and then you see what you know.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was pretty good. Because, you know, most of the time we have to paint what we know. Because we know what the form is, right? We know the light's coming from the left. So we have to keep that in our head, you know? We have to keep it in our head. In other words, we can't just copy what we see. To paint what we know. Draw what we see, draw what we know. And that's what he taught, that's what Hale taught in his classes. All those anatomy lectures was all about what you know. So now I've got some light gray here. We'll start to paint the glass. You know, there's a lot of times you will just paint what you see. I tell you, ellipses can be difficult. And, yeah, but less, you know, an abstract artist said less is more. And he was right about that.
Mhm.
Who said that? Anybody know who said that? Hans Hofmann said that.
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you what he painted like though, but I know he was an abstractionist. So sometimes the less we do, the better it is. And then there's a shadow. So always have your shadow ready. I like to mix a batch of my shadow color so I can just grab it when I need it. So it's going this way. Going like that. Okay. But you know, the key to glass is a glass like that is similar to the bottle. You got to just the white highlights are what really make it. You know, really finish it. It's like here and here. Most of the time, you only get one stroke out of that paint. You got to get another stroke here. Then the light, you know, the light in wine or this liquid is similar to painting a grape because the light passes through the liquid. It's coming from the left, so it's going to hit on the right. That's what I mean. It's true with the grape too. You know who did a good job of this was Caravaggio. Caravaggio in his still life You know, I've got all kinds of lights going on in this studio tonight, but when I just have my natural light, I just see one big highlight. I've got so many highlights in there today. I've got to just reduce it down to the most essential. A little darker here. That. There's a stem in that apple here, which is kind of nice because it's catching some light right there. Should I try to show you a close-up again? I'll see if this will work.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if that's working very well. Doggone high glare on there.
Could you also
So anyway,
the still life again? Could you show
what's
us,
that?
could you show us the still life you're painting from? The
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because I think we had some people who came in after you showed it last time.
yeah. It's down there. See, I set it up in the box so I can control the light. You see, there's my big effect on the yellow apple. There's the bottle and the brass pot. From this angle, from this camera, makes it look brighter than it is. But you have a nice shadow behind there. That's a nice shadow box. You could, make that out of any cardboard box.
Thank
This
you.
is made out of wood. And, you know what? It would be nice if I put a ledge here. And I'm going to show you something else.
When you I came in late, I apologize, but when you started the painting, did you do the entire background first and then paint the objects on top, or do you only do that with something like the glass and the bottle?
No, I only did that with the glass. No, I drew those in. I painted the background around those. And then does that help? Does that answer it? I painted
Yes,
the background around those. Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very, very informative to watch
Good.
you work.
I'm glad. What's that?
I used to model for you at Sweetwater years ago.
Really?
When you had drawing classes. I don't have my video on because the light is awful. I don't want to interrupt your demonstration either. Just.
Oh, that's okay. What's your name?
Kelly Bush.
Oh, sure. Uh-huh. Oh, so you're painting then, huh?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, you know what? I started those drawing classes up again, and they were doing really well, and then that COVID shut it all down.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Here's a little Rembrandt idea. With the light coming this way, and I have my vortex here, I like it to also relate to the shadows. So I would make this table even lighter right here. You know, I'm thinking about the light moving. So let's get this a little later. It helps the whole feeling of the vortex. The vortex is like the sun, you know? Think of that as that apple is the sun.
Yeah, Your eye definitely moves all the way through that painting and around.
Oh, thanks. Then we'll put some texture in here. I have a fan brush here. See this one? This is a real soft fan brush. If I want to really blend something, this is a nice brush.
Oil. It's either oil or.
We'll hit this shadow. Oops.
I would say.
Like that.
When you bring it in really close again, can you hold your camera there a few seconds? Because it didn't really like autofocus back in.
On the
You
painting?
bring it real close, your camera, just keep it real still for a few minutes because it's bouncing around and maybe we can see it a little better.
Let's see. See, that gets
That's-
that glare on it.
That's okay. Just bring it straight in.
Right in.
There you go. Hold it real still. Hold it real still. There you go. Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, you can see it now a lot better.
Oh, good. Okay.
Wow.
I want to show you something else here.
Very nice.
Thanks. Here's a small painting. This was a small study I did because there's some people wanted a big painting of this. So I have the porcelain and the fruit and some glasses. So sometimes I do a little study like this. But it's always about the light, the light coming in here. See, and then also, still life can be one object, three objects. This is like a little apple, just one object.
Mhm.
But get the form and the light, the form and the light. That's what's important. It applies to the head. See, it applies to the portrait, and because the head is an egg. That's an egg with the light on top, and then see her. There's the still life part of the painting right there. The hand is an egg. I think of the egg first, and then put the fingers on.
I like
So,
that.
and then see the shadow is still the same shadow I used in the still life. The real rich, warm shadow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Let's see what else. Oh, you know what else? You asked me the other day, like what would a step-by-step thing look like? This is the start. This is a peach. So this is the start and this is the finish. And so the way I did this painting tonight, I drew the peach, drew the shape, did the background, then blocked in the shadow and the color on the table. Then I blocked in the peach colors, put in the halftone. The halftone is a greenish. This was made with, I think just raw umber and white. That's a warm gray. And then there's a gray on the outside edge to finish that peach right there. You see, so that's I did this for American Artist magazine. And then I did one on copper. did this for them for copper. So that this is the beginning stage and this is the end. So blocked in the darks. See, this is the same dark as on the brass. That's ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson right there. Then this halftone, you know, copper has green in it. So this is actually orange mixed with ultramarine blue. That's what that looks like. Then I built up the copper here with that Terra Rosa mixture of tan red light and cobalt blue, and then orange on top of that, and orange and white. Just we have to keep these things simple. You know, most mixtures are two colors, and if you get more than three, then you're gonna have mud. So don't ever mix more than three. I don't know if anybody ever heard that one, but that's a good rule.
That's very helpful.
Yeah, right. Everything, think of everything having three values: the light, the middle, and the dark. And then you have to decide what those are. When you look at the local color, you know, sometimes it's pretty obvious because that apple is yellow. You know, when you're working on a portrait, you have to look at your model and decide if there's more red or more yellow in their face, and if they're warm or if they're a cool pink, you know, or cool red or a warm red. So once you break that down, I think you can really paint anything, you know. So see, if I were going to come back to that, I'd just kind of refine it a little more. You know, refine the brass spots, and you know, maybe put a little indication of writing on the bottle. But sometimes it's nice just to do a real quick, vibrant painting, but always with the space, light, and atmosphere. You know, those are the principles of classical painting. So remember, we're not copying. It's got to inspire the art, whatever it is. It has to inspire the art. Whistler talked about that all the time. You know, and in fact, he got in trouble because he did so much of that with his portraits that his portrait clients hated the paintings, wouldn't take them because he was thinking of them more as a work of art than getting their likeness. So, you know, it's kind of a difficult thing when an artist, you know, does something like that, because you can still make a great painting and get a likeness at the same time. That's the big challenge, you know. So here's an edge on here. Let's pull that around. There's a little bit of a highlight in there. You know, I think the more you study an object, you know, the more you see in it, but still, just don't overdo it. That's the key. Put a little highlight in there. You want to see a painting I did of one of my dogs? I could show you one of those.
Definitely.
Okay, hold on. It's over it's in the back here. We have two beagles. This is one of them.
Oh,
Aw.
That's Molly. And then this is Opal. This is the two little girls. And they're real good buddies. I've done a few paintings of them. We had
Amazing.
greyhounds. Thanks. And then I painted the greyhounds too. So they're sweet, you know. They're sweet dogs. I'm going to show you a historical painting I did. Just finished for a guy. This is a Civil War scene. This is a hotel that was built in 1835. And this is the cavalry, called the Ringgold Cavalry, going to war in 1861. And the guy who owns it, he restored this hotel and he wanted this event painted. So there's a lot going on there, but it's still about the light, you know. But here's where I want you to look.
Now, did you have to pick all those horses separately, like from other photos, or was that actually a photo? Like, how did you get that composition?
No, I went to Civil War reenactments in the past. I took a lot of photos. So this was one person, that was somebody else, this was somebody else, and I just put it all together.
Oh my gosh. How long did that take?
It took 3 months. Wow. You know, it took a while. So I just finished it the other day. But that was a lot of work. But it's always the same principle in the light, you know. You got to get the light first. You want to see the light, no matter what. But you know, when I studied at the Art Students League, we painted the model, painted the portrait or the figure every day in the afternoon. We painted still life in the morning. And my teacher said, paint the still life because you're painting the form all the time. And it relates to everything. So I think that was good. That was good, you know, good practice. And still do it. Still enjoy doing this subject matter. But there's always a different texture, you know. And I paint a lot of flowers. So I didn't show you any of those, but I've done a lot of flowers and been published. My flower paintings have been published. So it's always the same principle, though. See, that apple could be a peony, you know. It's the same concept. Those are the big concepts, the big ideas.
So do you have a favorite subject, or you just break it down so it doesn't really matter what you're painting?
Well, yeah, my favorite subject is the figure, but nobody wants the figure. So I like painting everything else, you know. I like painting people a lot. But people I want to paint, you know, I've done a lot of portrait commissions, and I like it when I'm allowed to paint them the way I want to, instead of what somebody might think they want, you know. Instead of imitating the photograph, I still want to paint the light on the head. You know, like Zorn, or you know, everybody likes Sargent. That's you know, even he had his difficulties, but you want to paint a head like that. It wouldn't be a shame to put your name on, you know. That's always a challenge. And so I paint my family. My best paintings are my family, my wife and kids. So, you know, and love to paint the landscape in the summertime.
Do you do plein air at all?
Yeah, I do plein air, a lot of plein air, and Then I do the little ones on location, and then do a bigger one from that later. Done a lot of those.
So do you
Yeah.
think it's really better to, if you're working large, to do small studies first before you just
Yeah.
walk in there?
I think that's a good idea. Like I showed you that little still life. Good to work it out small first. And then you're working out your design and your color, you know, and the light. It's good to work it all out. And then you know, rather than kind of figure it out as you go, you know. So,
Will you be
do
teaching
you have
any
any?
online workshops or classes in the near future?
You know what? I haven't. I don't know. Is that possible to teach online? I don't know. Because I'm a hands-on person. I like to look at a painting and talk about it with the person who's doing it. And, you know, so I don't know. Have any of you done that?
Yes,
Online? Does it work? Is it a good idea?
I've been taking an online class with Jean Haynes. She's from the UK. And,
Really?
and I find it to be phenomenal. But what I like the best about it is it doesn't happen in real time. So I can go back to the videos that she's posting and go back through parts that I maybe didn't quite understand when she was doing it. I usually watch it through the whole start with, and then I go back. But I love it. It's really cool. But I thought this was tonight too. I'm just amazed. Do you ever work in anything other than oils? Do you do watercolor, or do you do pastels?
I do pastel. Yeah, I do pastel. I've done pastel workshops, you know, down in North Carolina. They had a pastel group down there. Went there. Yeah, I like pastel. I've done a lot of pastel because it's the same principles. Do you do pastel? Do some of you do pastel?
No, I can't. You have to think so differently between the watercolors and
Oh yeah, watercolor for sure.
pastel. You know, it's a matter of thinking light to dark or dark to light, and I'm not
Yeah,
good enough or flexible enough to do both.
yeah.
I do glass though, and glass is very much like dealing with watercolors.
Uh-huh.
Have
Yeah.
you ever done anything for the Pittsburgh Pastel Artist League? Have you ever done any demonstrations for them?
No, I never have.
I'll
No.
have to bug them to call you.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. 'Cause I love pastel. But it's really the same principles as oil painting. And you know, I don't like to get into acrylic because you can't get the same depth as oil. So I don't do that, you know. But pastel, I like pastel. I've done watercolors myself, but always with the same principle of light. And I know that it's different because you're going from light to dark, but as long as you keep it in your mind, you know, the great watercolor painters, some of the greatest, you know, Turner or Homer, Winslow Homer, that they would use white, and I think it was a 20th century idea to leave the white paper. But you know that if you look at those great British watercolor painters, and even John Singer Sargent, if he needed white, he put it in there. You know? You ever think of that?
There's different thoughts on it. There's different.
That's a 20th century idea, just to leave white. That's hard to do. I think that's really hard to do. Because you say, oh, gee, I just blew it. So now you got to grab your opaque white. You know?
Cheating.
No, it isn't.
No fighting.
Turner would do it. Turner, you ever look at Turner? He's the greatest watercolorist of all time. you know.
It's just a different technique. It's fine either way.
Yeah, it's a different technique, that's for sure. But yeah, you're really stuck if you
You have to
lose
plan
that.
out those ways.
I know. I guess some painters do. They use that rubber cement or something they put on the white.
Fluid.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
so
when I
that-
was taught, the man that taught me was more of the wet into wet purist, and you just avoided the white on the paper. He didn't use the frisket a lot. But I've played with some of the. I still like leaving the paper. That's just me because that's the way I learned it. But
yeah,
I've used white. I'm not afraid to use white if I want to play with
Yeah.
it. But
yeah,
I still feel better when I leave the white of the paper.
yeah,
Now this is a collage here, so that's different. That's got all kinds
Yeah.
of white in it. So
yeah, yeah. You're right. There are all kinds of ways to paint. You know, there's no one way really. You know, it's just different approaches. You know, and you know, I'll tell you what I'm not fond of is photorealism. When they just people just imitate the photograph and try to get all the detail. That to me isn't exciting. You know, I like to see some brush work and some light. I want to see some light and form. You know, that's what I love. What I'm after. That's the classical approach. So.
Do you have a particular brand of oil paint that you like? Do you think it makes much difference between the different brands?
Oh yeah, it makes a big difference. I'll tell you some good ones. You know, Sennelier is very expensive, very good. Williamsburg paints are hand ground. They're really good. Rublev, they're hand ground, and they're all pigment. Blocks is good. Even Grumbacher pre-tested. You know, these are all different price ranges, but just don't get Winton brand. You know, or what they call the student grade brand, because there's almost no pigment in those paints. And then if you do a painting with them, then you get disappointed. You say, "Wow, that doesn't look vibrant like I thought it would." And that's because it's full of what they call aluminum stearate. It's got a filler in it and dilutes the color. So you know, it'd be a lot happier if you use better quality paints. And even Rembrandt paints are good. Utrecht is good. You know, the Utrecht brand, they're not expensive and they're good. So yeah, it's important what you paint with. Really important.
I do like Grumbacher. Grumbacher is kind of like it's always sort of liquidy, but it holds itself together. And I like the pigment. I like the Grumbacher. I bought an odd set the other day when I was at the local art store, and those are just, I don't know, they just disappear as soon as you mix them. As soon as you mix them, the pigment just sort of, I don't know, evaporates, integrates or something. And they have a really weird smell too, which I'm not fond of. So, you know, worth a shot, but.
Yeah, try to get the best quality you can get. But like I say, the pricing is all over. Sennelier is very expensive, but I was their sponsor for a while, so I would recommend it. But like I said, Rembrandt's good, Utrecht is good, and you know, nice rich color, have nice rich colors. That's a good question. You got a good question there.
what about Winsor Newton?
Winsor Newton, really good. Yeah. Winsor Newton's really good. And their painting mediums are good. Their brushes are good. You know, get good brushes. Sometimes you're only as good as your brushes, you know. If you can't make the paint do what you need it to do, that's frustrating. So it's good to invest in some good brushes and really keep them clean. I know people that really don't clean their brushes and then they're ruined, you know. Gotta keep them clean. You know, that's a simple thing, really. You know.
I have two brushes that I used that were my mother's, and they're still two of my favorite brushes. And I can't even imagine how old they are, but they're wonderful.
Oh, that's
Those
good
two.
quality. She got good quality then. You still can use them, and they're probably bristle then, like hog's hair probably.
Yeah. I
Right.
can't even read the writing on them now. The wooden handle is all sort of worn away. But you know, I use turpentine as my medium, and I use mineral spirits to wash my brushes. And I don't know if I should try to use some other type of medium. I think for me, the idea of mixing it, I'm afraid I won't be able to always mix it consistently, and then I'll get variations in the quality of the finish.
That's true. But I think you ought to buy the Winsor Newton, either pale drying medium or a fast drying medium. They're really good. They're all ready to go. But don't use turpentine. That breaks down the paint too much.
They're already mixed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the problem I'm having with the two coming.
You know, the kid couldn't see me with my brushes here, but I always like to dip in the medium, then wipe it on the cloth, and then dip into the paint. But if you go and clean your brush in mineral spirits and then go right into the paint without putting medium on that brush first, then you're going to be breaking down your paint, and that's not good.
I use just straight turpentine. When I say clean my brushes, I mean actually clean them when I'm done painting. I use straight turpentine when I'm painting to mix. I don't even.
Yeah. You should use a painting
turpentine in a cup. Okay, I'll try that.
And by the way, see, I have different brushes here. You just need a couple of these sables, you know, like number 6 or whatever. You know, I have a number 0 and a number 6 here. And these are the drawing brushes. With everything else, you know, get bigger brushes, and then you know you have a 2-inch background brush. You know, that would pull together the background. So yeah, brushes are important, but always have a couple of sables like this, you know. And the sable holds the paint really well. I've tried synthetics; they just don't hold the paint. You can't get a stroke from them. So that's a thought, you know. So and get a good surface to paint on. I don't know. I like to paint on double oil prime linen. You know, do you ever hear the Italian art store? The Italian art store has canvas, good canvas. It's double oil prime linen. You say you're going to do a painting that you really want to work on it and want it to be a good painting. Get good canvas. They'll make it for you. It takes like 2 weeks for them to prepare it for you, and you can get it stretched or unstretched. The Italian art store is really good.
Where is
I think even Fredericks makes oil prime linen, and that's through Jerry's Artorama. They might have that. Jerry's has the best art prices anywhere. I taught workshops for them for several years. In fact, I knew Jerry. There was a Jerry.
Jerry. That was Gary. Jerry.
Jerry's Artorama. Have you heard of Jerry's?
That's my favorite store.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Jerry's 80th birthday party. He's gone now. But when I first, I didn't know there was a real Jerry until I met the guy.
Wow.
Yeah, really, they're quite a family. They've got a dynasty going. But the best prices for art materials, really, I don't know anybody who could beat them. They have everything. They really have everything. So.
Well, that was a wonderful job, Jim. I think you put that together so fast, and all of a sudden it was just there.
Oh, thanks.
Does anybody else
Thanks.
have any other questions for him? I mean, I really think that was quite comprehensive, and you've used colors I've never even thought to put together. So it's always
Well,
nice to
thanks.
see somebody else paint.
How do you finish your paintings off? Do you coat them? Like, what do you do with them?
Yeah. Well, once this would dry to the touch, I put a retouch varnish on it. You lay it flat and brush it on very thinly, as thin as you can, and that'll dry in less than 2 minutes. And then 6 months later, put a final varnish, Damar varnish on. That's it. But always put a retouch on them. Always. In fact, if this dries and I put a retouch on and I still want to paint on it, that's okay. I can still paint on it. And then retouch it again.
And the retouch is just like a glazing varnish, or do you mean actually retouching the highlights and retouching the entire painting?
No, you just brush it on the entire painting.
Like a varnish?
Yeah, I have a bottle of it here. Here it is. I have a bottle of it here. Retouch varnish. And then when that's done, after 6 months, I put the Damar varnish on. That's the final varnish. You put it on the whole painting. See, the retouch, always retouch. Even, sometimes you never see your painting again. You put it in an art show or the sales, at least you'll have a retouch on there. A lot of times I don't get to put the final varnish on, So, yeah, so always put a retouch varnish. And that's a Winsor Newton brand. I got that at Jerry's. So, Winsor Newton, it's good quality. See? Does anybody else have a question?
No.
No?
I'm going to say thank you. That was wonderful.
Oh, thanks a lot.
So informative.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And your studio looks just beautiful behind you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. I've got paintings everywhere.
That's the way it should be.
Don't we all?
Thing to us inspired.
Well, thanks
Very
a lot.
nice job.
Well, thanks. I really enjoyed it. So happy
Yeah.
painting, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.